thank you very much for talking to us. I'm sure you've met a lot of clients in the last 3 days. What's the sense that you are picking up about client budgets, for 2026? What's the mood like? Where is it going to be targeted? Are they holding back because of the uncertainty around tariffs, geopolitics, or have they sort of baked that into their plans now that, that it's going to be the new normal?
Right. So first, Chandra, I must congratulate you. You're the talk of town with your Trump interview. I think a first for Indian media.
Thank you very much.
And breaking news on the India trade deal as well, right? So, you're the newsmaker today, I think, from Davos perspective.
No, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
But no, to your question, I think, obviously visibility comes in stages. I do feel that coming into Davos, there was obviously an overhang of the geopolitical issue, a lot of concerns about what might happen with Greenland. I feel some of that concern has gone away. And so that is certainly very helpful because companies can now be much more focused on their revenues and their profitability. The sense that we're getting is that unlike last year, where a lot of focus was on AI experimentation and getting something started, companies have realized that at the end of the day, you need clean data for AI. You need to make sure that your apps are simplified and modernized. And only then can you get AI and start that virtuous cycle. And so this has meant that a lot of the work that the industry is very good at, right, which is building out modern data stacks, simplifying applications, will come back into the limelight. And so that, again, should be a positive for the industry.
Any outlook on discretionary spending more?
I think it's very hard to, look, I think over the past 10 years, if you go back 10 years ago, right, companies would have a budget at the start of the year and then they'd burn down the budget, right? It is a lot more volatile now. But I certainly feel that 2026 calendar year will be better from a spend perspective than 2025, which in turn was actually better than 2024.
Okay, so it's gradually actually improving
for
from
sure.
a 3-year perspective.
Yes, it is certainly a strengthening that we see in terms of the spend expectations. And it is not going to be a dramatic V-shaped recovery, but I do feel an incremental improvement is very much on the cards.
Great. If I look at TechM, you had a very strong growth rate among the tier 1 peers in Q3 and your target is to outpace peers once you reach your FY27 target of 15% operating margins. What's driving the confidence? If you can just take us through what's working for you.
Sure. So first, I must again just underscore the journey that we've traveled, right? So we've gone from about 6.4% margins to 13.1% margins in the
effectively more than
doubled our margins over a 2-year period, actually less than a 2-year period. We have gone from being the bottom in terms of growth to now being among the top in terms of growth. Large deal volumes have continued to increase steadily from about 300 million to 1.1 billion this quarter. Employee satisfaction at a 5-year high, client NPS now in the top 15%. So I do feel that it's been a very, very strong journey. And for that, I would give the credit to the team, right? I honestly feel that Tech Mahindra today, among the sort of IT services peers, has probably, the strongest team now. We have added significantly to the team. So we already had our Chief Operating Officer, our CFO, our CHRO, all of our market leadership. Most recently, we added Amol Phadke as our Chief Transformation Officer. We added Shyam Arora as our Global CTO, Arjun Saxena as our Head of Consulting. So we've continued to steadily add to the talent. This is a people business, right? If you have the best team, you will have the best results.
Great. You are also the only Indian IT player that has developed its own LLM through Project Indus. And you have also demoed, the science education LLM under the India AI mission to the PM. So while this is for the public sector, are there plans to develop enterprise grade LLMs for your global customers?
No, absolutely, Chandra. Look, I think we're very proud of the fact that we were the first company to build out a large language model in Hindi and then in Bahasa Indonesian. More recently, like you mentioned, for the National AI Mission, Tech Mahindra is building a LLM for physics education first for students in grades 6 through to 12. We believe that we are really an expert in building sovereign large language models, right? Then there's been a lot of interest, not least in Davos, in building large language models in languages other than, let's say, Chinese or English. We're also leveraging this expertise to now build domain small language models, right?
SLMs.
Yes, SLM, right? So let's say, a telco wants to create a network SLM, right? We have built, for instance, for one of our US-based telecom clients, an SLM that sits inside the router to make sure that the router is functioning in an optimized fashion. So again, lots of possibilities of leveraging the the core R&D that we have invested in to build solutions for our clients.
Great. And, do you have open source partnerships with OpenAI, Gemini, and others? Or are these foundation models being built from scratch? Or are you building them on top of some of these open source models?
It's a very good question. I think the first open source, the first large language model we built, Indus, that was built from scratch. And I think it was a real testimonial to the engineering prowess of the company.
So you had to procure the cloud and compute.
Everything, right? Everything. The cloud, the GPUs, but also actually even the voice samples, right? Because let's not forget that for Hindi dialects, there isn't so much primary data available. So we had a website called Bhashadan, where we collected a lot of samples of language, right? And then built the model on top of that. The Bahasa Indonesian model was built on top of Llama. So it's a combination of using sort of open source models and our own R&D. I think we have a very strong partnership, obviously, with Microsoft, fast-growing partnership with Gemini, but also with Meta. So the ecosystem strength is very strong.
Right. Mohit, as a veteran of the industry, give us a sense of what's happening with respect to this linearity going away. A couple of CEOs we spoke to said that IT companies cannot rely on the traditional outsourcing model where, revenue growth was directly linked to headcount. They will have to reinvent themselves because they expect a deflation in traditional IT services as we know it because of automation and AI. A lot of that work is being done without putting people on to work. What is your own sense of where we are today?
Sure. So look, my sense is that if you look at AI, right, and the client asks for productivity, the way it's happened just now is most people have been giving a certain price. So let's say you did something for $100 last year. What people are saying is that we'll do it now for $70, and the $30 you get is AI productivity, right? It's unfortunately not very measured very tangibly. So we have just published a white paper with Forrester about a week ago. And what we're saying is that in this new model that we have built, there is a certain amount of pricing that you do for human labor, right? So those are the human labor tokens. And there's a certain amount of pricing that you do for digital labor. But digital labor is harder to price because, you could have 10 agents doing the work that one agent of mine does. The lowest common denominator over there is token consumption. So what we've said is that any project that we do in this model will have a human labor component and a digital labor component measured by the number of tokens that are consumed. And so there's complete transparency to the client and gives us an alternate source of revenues and an alternate source of profitability because you're able to measure and price for digital labor directly rather than effectively giving it for free to the client.
Got it. Lastly, Mohit, from a budget perspective, any expectations from a IT sector point of view? Anything that you would like to see perhaps?
No, look, I think, for us, for all the IT services companies, clearly there was a significant provision that happened because of the labor code implications over the
I think hit profitability of all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it hit profitability. I think we're looking for a little bit more clarity on the labor code requirements. But no, otherwise I feel that the government has been very supportive of the industry. And with the new trade deals being signed, hopefully the one that you got an early wind of.
Hopefully
the one you got an early wind of yesterday, the UK deal, the proposed EU deal. I think all of this should be, again, improve the sentiment and improve the mood music for the industry.
Great. Thank you very much for talking to us, Mohit. Thank you.
Thank you again.